I love my husband even after he had a child with someone else while I was pregnant, but when I started smiling at my neighbor's texts and rearranging my day just to see him outside, I knew I had to act fast before a harmless crush became something much worse. Posted by you/altruisticbet8662. My name is Anna. I'm 32 years old and a mother of 2 biological children, a toddler who's almost 2 and a 6-month-old baby. I'm also a stepmom to my husband James's 9-year-old daughter from his previous relationship. She stays with us every other weekend and during school holidays. James and I have been together for 4 years, married for 3. Our relationship hasn't been easy. We've faced serious problems that would end many marriages, but we've managed to stay together. When I was 8 months pregnant with our youngest, I discovered James had been unfaithful during my first pregnancy and had fathered a child with another woman. I was devastated when I found out. Being heavily pregnant made the situation even harder to process. The other woman didn't want James legally recognized as the father of her child, which simplified things legally, but was still emotionally complicated. After several weeks of counseling and many difficult conversations, I decided to forgive James and work on rebuilding our marriage. He showed genuine remorse and has been working to regain my trust since then. Life eventually settled into a routine. Our home in the suburbs became a place where we could focus on healing as a family. James works as an architect, often from home, while I'm currently on maternity leave from my job as a primary school teacher. Our days are filled with taking care of the children, doing household chores, and enjoying simple family activities. 8 months ago, new neighbors moved in next door. Matt, his partner Ellie, and their 3-year-old son Liam. They were friendly from the start, bringing homemade cookies on their first day, and offering to help when they noticed James having trouble with our lawnmower. Matt is tall with dark wavy hair and a warm smile. He works as a graphic designer and often sets up his laptop on their patio when the weather is nice. Ellie is equally pleasant. She's a pediatric nurse with a gentle manner that immediately made my children comfortable around her. Liam and my toddler became fast friends, running between our yards and sharing toys as if they'd known each other forever. Our families quickly developed a comfortable routine. The kids would play in the connected backyards while we adults chatted over the fence. Sometimes we have meals together, casual barbecues with easy conversation. Matt and James bonded over their shared interest in vintage cars, while Ellie and I discovered we both enjoyed gardening and sustainable living. I always thought Matt was attractive in an objective way, the same way you might notice a good-looking actor. It wasn't something I thought about much. It was just a fact, like noting the weather or enjoying food. Everything changed about 3 weeks ago. It was a sunny Tuesday afternoon, and I was in our front garden, planting new perennials while my baby napped in her stroller beside me. My toddler was at a play date, giving me a rare moment of peace. Matt came home early from work and stopped to chat. We talked about the neighborhood community garden he discovered, and he offered to show me around sometime. He mentioned a farmer's market that had organic seedlings at good prices and a children's festival happening that weekend that our kids might enjoy. That evening, he texted me a link to the festival website. Thought you might want the details for this weekend. Liam is excited to go with your little ones. It was a completely innocent text, but something changed inside me. When I saw his name on my phone screen, my heart beat faster. I found myself smiling as I read his message, and I took longer than necessary to write my reply. Over the next few days, our texts increased, still all about innocent topics like local events, recipes. He shared an amazing sourdough bread recipe, or funny things our kids did. But with each message, my reaction grew stronger. I checked my phone more often, felt disappointed when a notification wasn't from him, and spent too much time thinking about our brief interactions. When we saw each other in person, which was nearly every day given our proximity, I became self-conscious. I worried about my appearance, laughed too loudly at his jokes, and found reasons to extend our conversations. I realized I had developed a serious crush on my neighbor. This scared me. I felt incredibly guilty. I never expected to feel this way about anyone other than James. Despite his past mistakes, I loved my husband deeply. We had built a life together, created beautiful children, and worked hard to heal our relationship. Having feelings for someone else seemed wrong after everything we'd been through. Every time my phone buzzed with a text from Matt, I felt both excited and ashamed. I caught myself imagining simple scenarios, running into him at the local coffee shop or watching our families play at the park together, and then feeling terrible afterward. I had absolutely no intention of cheating on James or pursuing anything with Matt, but the strength of my attraction surprised me, and I didn't know how to make it stop. Matt had never been inappropriate or flirtatious. He was just being a friendly neighbor who happened to be attractive and kind. His relationship with Ellie seemed solid and loving. There was no indication that he saw me as anything other than his neighbor and the mother of his son's playmates. I needed advice, so I turned to the internet. Late one night, after everyone was asleep, I wrote an anonymous post sharing my feelings and asking if others had experienced similar situations and how they had handled them. The responses came quickly with varying opinions. Some people assured me that crushes were normal, even in committed relationships, and that the feelings would fade if I didn't encourage them. Others were more critical, suggesting that my attraction was a sign of deeper problems in my marriage. One commenter, Stargazer STL, wrote, "You can do what you already know you need to do, or you can continue down the path you already suspect will lead to infidelity. If you choose to do the right thing, distance yourself. Shut down the texting, simply stop responding, and avoid and minimize conversation. It's up to you." Another user, _VibeSirens, added, "OP, you're already self-aware enough to recognize the risk, and that's a huge first step. Crushes can feel intense, but they do fade when you don't feed them. Since distancing has worked for you in the past, trust that instinct now, even if it's harder with a neighbor. Maybe mute or archive the texts for a while. No need to make it awkward. Just slow down replies and keep interactions brief and kid-focused when you see him. Guilt is a sign you care about your marriage, and that's worth honoring. You've got this." Reality Hurts 923 asked, "Does your husband know he is texting you? Doesn't matter if innocent." That question made me stop and think. James knew I communicated with Matt occasionally, but he wasn't aware of how frequently we texted or how it was affecting me. I hadn't been hiding anything on purpose, but I also hadn't been completely transparent. One suggestion that really stood out came from person 546. "Honestly, it's easy, just transition to always replying in a group chat. He sends you kids' activities. Res hair in the group chat with him, his wife, and your husband. My husband and I have an unspoken rule of always group chat. Eventually people get the hint or just see it there on the top of their texts." I replied, "That's not a bad idea, honestly. Thank you." Some commenters suggested I should tell James about my feelings, arguing that honesty was essential in a relationship. But that made me nervous. Given our history, I worried that telling him about my attraction to Matt might reopen old wounds or make him feel insecure. To test the waters, I decided to ask James a hypothetical question during dinner one night after we'd put the kids to bed. "What would you want me to do if I ever had an intense crush on a coworker?" I asked, trying to sound casual as I passed him the salad. James looked thoughtful. "I want you to tell me if it's something that persisted," he said finally, "because it would be a sign something was wrong with us, or in my case, a sign I hadn't done enough to make things right." His answer gave me a lot to think about. If the feelings persisted, maybe I would need to have that difficult conversation. But first, I wanted to try the most common advice I'd received, distance. The next morning, I woke up determined to end this crush. I created a new group chat that included Matt, Ellie, James, and me, titled Neighbor Family Fun. When Matt texted me later that day about a new playground that had opened nearby, I didn't respond directly. Instead, I shared the information in the group chat, adding, "This looks great for all our kids. What does everyone think about checking it out this weekend?" I also changed my routine. Instead of gardening in the late afternoon when Matt often worked on his patio, I started going out early in the morning. I made sure James was present for most of our family interactions with the neighbors. When conversations with Matt couldn't be avoided, I kept them brief and focused on the children or neighborhood topics. It wasn't easy at first. I missed our casual chats and the excitement I got from our interactions. A few times, I found myself writing text to him before stopping myself and putting my phone away. But I stayed determined, remembering what was important. After about a week of this new approach, Matt came over one evening when I was watering the plants. James was inside giving the baby a bath. "Hey, is everything all right?" Matt asked, looking concerned. "I feel like you've been avoiding me. Did I do something wrong?" I felt nervous. I hadn't expected him to ask me directly, and I didn't want to make things awkward between our families. "No, not at all," I assured him, focusing on the tomato plant I was watering. "Things have just been busy with the baby teething and my stepdaughter visiting more often for summer vacation. Everything's fine." He seemed satisfied with my explanation, and we chatted briefly about Liam's upcoming birthday party before he headed back to his yard. As I watched him walk away, I noticed something surprising. The nervous feeling in my stomach was gone. I still thought Matt was good-looking, but the intense attraction that had filled my thoughts just days ago had significantly decreased. It felt like waking up from a strange dream, leaving me clear-headed and puzzled by how strongly I'd felt before. Update: 14 days after initial post. Over the next week, I continued my strategy of friendly distance, but I didn't feel the same struggle. When Matt texted the group chat about a community picnic, I felt none of the excitement I'd experienced before. When our families had dinner together that weekend, I enjoyed the conversation but felt no urge to seek out private moments with Matt or to impress him. By the end of the second week, I could honestly say the crush had ended. In total, the intense feelings had lasted about 2 weeks, with the first week being the strongest and the second week fading quickly due to my efforts to create distance. I felt very relieved. I hadn't done anything to damage my marriage or to disrespect Matt and Ellie's relationship. I hadn't needed to burden James with information that might hurt him unnecessarily. The whole experience proved to be exactly what most of the commenters had predicted, a temporary attraction that would fade when not encouraged. When I posted an update online, I shared my experience and thanked those who had offered helpful advice. I also added, "Some of you are extremely bizarre. No, I will not be sending you pictures of me. Ask me to in chats, and I'm blocking you. Try to flirt with me via chat, and I'm blocking you. Send me pictures of you in chats, and I'm blocking you. Stop being weird." It was a clear reminder that sharing personal problems online, even anonymously, opens one up to all sorts of unwanted attention. My update generated new comments, with many people sharing similar experiences or theories about why the attraction had appeared so suddenly and then disappeared just as quickly. Forsaken, ad 1300 asked, "Are you tracking your cycle? Not just when your period starts, but the entire cycle. Use an app and log when you feel strong emotions, and see if you start noticing recurring trends. The fact that your crush started and stopped so quickly makes me think it's related to your cycle." I replied, "I'm 6 months postpartum, and my cycle has not resumed yet since I'm breastfeeding. I could totally see it being a hormonal thing though." I said it in my previous post, but I know for sure it's not the fact he's handsome that triggered the attraction because I had known him for 1.5 years, and the crush was very sudden. Dogs Ducks commented, "Oh, it's probably very much hormonal, too. Right around 6 months, currently both 15 months postpartum and 5 months pregnant. I felt like an abundance of myself came back, like I suddenly felt out of the trenches and so much more in tune with life." I think I commented something about it being okay to find people attractive, and it can still be just an innocent, wholesome thing and got downvoted on your last post. People can get very up in arms about such things on Reddit, but you truly never seemed even remotely on the brink of cheating, lol. The thing is, I would probably just tell my husband and he'd be like, oh, in a completely silly way, agree that the neighbor is handsome, and we'd both understand on a deep level that nothing unwholesome would ever actually occur. You sound like you've got your ducks in a row, and also now you've successfully navigated it and don't have to worry. This comment made sense to me. As a new mother, I've been so busy taking care of my baby, recovering from childbirth, and managing our household that I'd lost touch with parts of myself, including my identity as a woman rather than just a mother and wife. The sudden attraction to Matt might have been partly because he treated me like a person, not just a mom. Kessinger pointed out, "He came by to ask me if everything was all right yesterday, and if he did something wrong." That is kind of an odd response to having one-on-one texting transferred to a group chat. You might not have been the only one with a case of limerence. This comment made me wonder. I hadn't considered that Matt might have enjoyed our interactions too. But looking back, there had never been anything in his behavior that crossed a line or suggested he saw me as anything other than a neighbor and friend. His concern when I pulled back was probably just genuine confusion at the sudden change in our friendly relationship. I explained, he used to chat with me while I was out gardening or chilling in our garden, and I straight up stopped. I started gardening really early in the morning, but I didn't hang out in the patio anymore because our patios are right next to each other, and when the weather is nice, he works sitting at theirs. Some commenters were more interested in the past issues with James, asking for details about his infidelity and how we had managed to move forward. I kept my responses short, explaining, my husband had a child between our oldest and my 6-month-old with someone else. I found out when I was 8 months pregnant. I didn't ask for judgment. Please keep it to yourself. I don't need to deal with her, because he isn't legally recognized as the father of the child at her request. And she's not really a mistress. I don't want to keep expanding on this. Bubbles for Eva commented, not to keep bothering you, OP, but just know that in this day and age, legal means nothing. That child will eventually contact your husband, even if it's just for medical info, answers, etc. And your other kids will find out in this day and age of genealogy if you don't tell them yourself. I have an elderly relative who just found out he has a daughter my age due to this. Just letting you know, not to scare you, but to prepare you. This will never truly go away. So many parents shield their kids from the mistakes of the other, and it only hurts them in the long run. I really wish my mom had told me the truth about all the crummy things my dad did growing up sooner. Yeah, eventually, others told me / I figured it out on my own, and he's a better man now. But growing up knowing the truth would have been far better for me. I appreciated the concern, but wanted to clarify my position. I'm not bothered by the child contacting him. That's the child's right. My children will know when they are old enough to understand. They are now both under 2, so we're not there yet. It's a complicated situation, and like I said, I don't want to expand on this now. It's true, James's choices will have long-term consequences, and we've talked a lot about how and when to tell our children about their half-sibling. But that's an issue for another time, when they're old enough to understand such complicated information. In the weeks since my crush faded, life has returned to normal. Our relationship with Matt and Ellie's family continues to be friendly and comfortable. The kids still play together almost daily, and we still share occasional meals and neighborhood activities. There's no awkwardness or tension, just the easy friendship of neighbors who enjoy each other's company. James and I are continuing to work on strengthening our marriage. The entire experience made me realize how important our relationship is to me and how committed I am to protecting it. While I didn't tell James about my temporary crush, I have been more intentional about our connection, scheduling regular date nights, even if they're just takeout, and a movie after the kids are in bed, showing appreciation for the things he does, and communicating more openly about my needs and feelings. I've also learned something important about myself, that finding someone attractive doesn't mean I'm going to act on it, and that temporary feelings don't define me or my commitment to my family. The guilt I felt was natural and even healthy, a sign of my love for James and my desire to honor our vows. I still see Matt almost every day. He's still handsome, still kind, still a good father and partner. But now, he's just our neighbor again. Someone I can talk with comfortably without my heart racing or my thoughts wandering. The intensity is gone, replaced by the simple appreciation of a good neighbor and family friend. And that's exactly how it should be.